Welcome to section 13.1, Factoring by GCF and Grouping. The first part we're going to go over is factor by GCF, meaning greatest common factors. So repeat, GCF is greatest common factor. Before we do any examples, I want to review that when it comes to factoring, we are dividing. And here I will a little note where FOIL and factoring are opposite of each other. FOIL involves with the operation multiply. So if FOIL and factoring are opposite of each other, and FOIL involves with multiplying, therefore factoring involves with dividing because they're opposite to each other. So here, our first example, 15x squared minus 10y. When you're trying to find the greatest common factor, you have to look at all parts, numbers and variables. So I have two terms, the 15x squared and the minus 10y. The variables, there's nothing in common, and then we check with the numbers, 15 and 10. There is a number that's involved, that's in common, which is the 5, meaning 15 can be divided by 5 and 10 can be divided by 5. So my GCF is 5. So your GCF will be on the outside of the parenthesis. And I'm doing 15x squared divided by 5, which is just 3x squared. And then negative 10y divided by 5 will be minus 2y. And then close parenthesis. So again, when I'm factoring by GCF, greatest common factor, I'm dividing each term by it. In this example, by 5. It will go outside. It does not disappear, it just simply go outside. And then this is basically factored out or factored completely in its simplest form. So 5, which is my GCF, times 3x squared minus 2y. In this example, we have 14a to the 7th power plus 28a to the 2nd power. So you look at both terms, they both have a's within exponent, and we look at the numbers also, the coefficient. So let's take a look at what can we do to simplify. Alright, if we look at the variable, they both can be divided by a. Since they both have the exponent, then we just usually use the smallest exponent, which is the 2nd power. So we're going to divide both terms by a squared. Now let's take a look at the numbers, 14 and 28. Both of these numbers can be divided by 14 because 14 can go on 14 one time, and then 14 can go on 28 two times. Alright, so I'm dividing the first term by 14a squared, and then the second term by also 14a squared. So this is my GCF. So 14a squared be on the outside of the parenthesis. 14a to the 7th divided by 14a second. So 14 divided by 14 is 1, and since we have a variable, you can write 1a. When dividing, I'm subtracting the next one, top minus bottom, so 7 minus 2, which is 5. And then 14a squared divided, 28a squared divided by 14a squared will simply be 2. The a squared divided by a squared will become 1. 1 times 2 is just 2. Now you can write your answer like this, or you can rewrite it as 14a squared parenthesis a to the 5th plus 2, where I wrote my 1 into a visible 1 here. But either form works for me. So this one or this one. So to review, in this example, both terms were divisible by 14, and they were divisible by the same variable, a to the 2nd power. when you're dividing with the same variable, you always use the smallest exponent. And then when you're dividing, again, it's just subtracting top minus bottom exponent. In this example, we have 12x to the second power y to the 8th power minus 18x to the 6th power y to the third. So in this example, we have two variables that are involved. So factoring by GCF, we're going to look in what's in common between these two terms. So let's take a look at the coefficient 12 and 18. Both of these numbers are divisible by 6. So let's write 6 here. They both have x, so I'm going to write x on both sides. Now the lowest exponent between the 2 and the 6 is the second power, so I'm going to write x squared on both terms. And both of these have y, so I'm going to put y underneath both terms. They both have y to the 8th power and y to the third. We're going to use the lowest exponent, which is the third for the y. So y to the third and y to the third. So there's my greatest common factor, which will be on the outside of the parenthesis. So 6x squared y to the third, and then open parenthesis. So let's look at the coefficient. 12 divided by 6 will be 2. X squared divided by x squared will be invisible 1, so I'll write over here. And then y8 divided by y to the third, we're just simply going to subtract the exponent, top minus bottom, 8 minus 3, which is 5. And then minus, because negative 18 divided by 6 will be a minus 3 or a negative 3. X to the 6 divided by x squared, here we're going to subtract the exponent, 6 minus 2, which is 4. And then y to the third divided by y to the third, that's just 1. So here, I actually wrote out the ones when I did x squared divided by x squared, and then y to the third divided by y to the third. So on the inside, I'm simplifying. 2 times 1 times y to the fifth is just simply 2y to the fifth minus 3x to the fourth times 1 is just simply 3x to the fourth power. And then here's my GCF, 6x squared y to the third. So there's our final answer. To review, in this example, we divide with two variables, the x and the y. And again, it's the same process as the last example. We use the lowest exponent between the two terms. And then again, I wrote out the ones when I did x squared divided by x squared, and then y to the third divided by y to the third. So to show that when you're dividing, it doesn't really cancel out, it just becomes 1. And then I just multiply the 1 to the term that's next to it. The 3x to the fourth times 1 is 3x to the fourth. And then 2 times 1 times y to the fifth is simply 2y to the fifth.